Honda is really like, I don't think that they really put into their marine division what they do into everything else. Because when you think about Honda, I mean, I've said this on this podcast a couple times about if you look at anything, their cars, their lawnmowers, or any other thing that Honda makes, is they make everything, but they're always really, really good. They're always top of the line, really good. And then when you look at their outboard division and their marine, it's kind of like, they're like, down here as far as market share. So I was saying I really wish they did do more. I know last year they came out with that BF 350 and like that kind of stuff, and they're making that boat with Scout. So that's interesting to hear that they're making that much of an insurgence up there and actually getting more popular. That's
Right.
good.
Yeah, what it comes down to, Aaron, as I'm sure you've experienced, is reliability, and that's what people are looking
Hmm.
for. Some of the original two-stroke or four-strokes that Yamaha had their corrosion issues it turns people off quickly. And
Yeah.
then some people that had the Suzuki's where the plug would pop out and you'd try and weld a plate over it, where the sensor was supposed to go, and not that I've ever tried that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
No, no, no.
but and then they feel burned, and then they want Honda because they know how reliable Honda is. So it all depends on how people come into it and what their experiences are too.
That's surprising that I'm not. Well, it's not surprising. I'm not surprised at all that Suzuki is neck and neck with Mercury up there. You didn't say anything about Evinrude because I would imagine there'd be a bunch of those old Evinrudes running around up there too.
They are. So again, if you go to the local, I would say state-run boat ramps where you're not paying a huge fee to use the ramp. It's probably not the greatest ramp in the world, but the guys are on a budget, like I was for many years. They're still running those old Evinrudes out there, and some of them are from the '70s. You go to the lakes, and there's some '60s, '70s Evinrudes that are still running out there. That guys are they're gonna run till they're dead. You know.
Then you'd probably say that there's a pretty high majority or percentage of two strokes out there still running compared to like newer four strokes. You said that the local ramps, the state ramps, that by and large most of them have two strokes. So I'm guessing
Yep.
that that's still ruling the water over there.
Yeah, most of the smaller boats and older boats that guys are on a budget are still running the two strokes because they're easier to maintain. You can do a lot of the repairs yourself. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of mechanics, I'm sure you've come across, as soon as there's a computer on it, they kind of shut down. They don't want to get into it and try to figure out what's going on or do any research. So,
Yeah.
carburetor, mix my fuel in my tank, and I'm off and running. Who cares if it smokes and spits and sputters and stalls every once in a while? I always
Mm-hmm.
get out and I always get back.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as far as them being able to last that long up there is, yeah. As long as you feed them that, the only downside is the fuel economy.
Yep.
They're gonna drink fuel, they're gonna drink oil, but they're still running. So why would
Yeah.
you replace something that's running with a 10, 20, $30,000 new thing that doesn't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. And let's face it, how many weekends you're in Florida, right? I had a good
Hmm.
friend of mine. He was we were so close with fishing that every Saturday morning was standard order. He met me at my house at 5 a.m. I was already in the truck with the trailer ready to go, and we
Hmm.
went every weekend. He moved down to Florida, bought himself a boat, and said, "Keith, it's great down here. Everybody puts their boat away in November." And he kept his boat out because it's not cold for him. Whereas here, how many times are guys actually getting out on the water per season in New Jersey?
I don't know.
So
What do you guys have, like 12 weekends, 3 month? What is the season in New Jersey? 3 or 4 months?
for for me, the fair weather boater, right? The cold, I pack my boat up every September, you know.
Okay.
But we got fishermen, and when I first started McGowan's Marine 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I said, well, I'll do some of these, and I'm doing winterizations, and I tell my wife, well, November it's going to start slowing down. In December, yeah, it's got to start slowing down. I had guys wait until January to winterize their boat because they're out striper fishing, man.
Wow. That seems pretty brave because at any point in time you could have a cold snap and you get, down into the low negatives or the low teens, and all of a sudden, well, if everything's still mainly an outboard, if you just trim it down, all the water leaks out. So you don't have
Right.
that much of a concern. But December, early January is
Ooh,
pushing it on the winterization scale in my,
I'm telling you,
and I don't
Aaron,
even live there, you know?
it surprised the heck out of me. I was like, "Hey, you're still out fishing. That's fine with me." But I'm packing up my Chevy Tahoe with all my winterization stuff to go out, and I'm cold doing it. I can't even run the hose at the guy's house to do the winterization. You know.
Yeah,
So,
that's too
uh,
funny.
yeah, it is. It is. It's amazing. But I would say the large majority, if they get out 8 times a year, they're happy because not every weekend has good weather either.
That's true. That's true. And out of 8 and 10, so on average, if you're getting out 8 to 10 weekends, and let's say you run 8 hours the boat, you're only putting like what, 70, 80,
Yeah, it's maybe 70, 80
maybe?
hours a year. And
Yeah.
how much fuel are you really burning? You know, and
Yeah.
some of the guys that I helped out with their motors over the years that upgraded, right? I always did boat evaluations every time they would upgrade. And if they
Mm-hmm.
start going out deeper, so to do a canyon run they like to do out here in Jersey, it's about a 50, 60 mile run. So those guys, they're going to the four strokes because they're
Mm-hmm.
burning fuel all the way in and out. But the guys that are fishing around Sandy Hook in New Jersey, right across Sandy Hook is New York Harbor, and there's stripers around the Statue of Liberty almost all year long.
Oh
Um,
wow. So
and
yeah, you don't have to go far then.
yep, you're really just, you get up on plane to where you want to go, maybe 10, 20 minutes. Every once in a while, I would go out around the hook to the ocean. I had a couple spots where I would chum for bluefish because they're just fun to catch. They're
Right.
not really good to eat, but they're fun to catch. And maybe I'd run for 40 minutes to get out there and back. And if I had a 100-gallon tank and burned 30 gallons, it was a lot. So
Hmm. That brings into that for me because I deal with, in Florida, people are doing, they're running their boats throughout the week, even on the weekends. They're starting them up. They're, burning through fuel. But if you've only got 8 to 10 weekends, and let's take, you were saying a Mako. Let's say you got a Grady White or a Mako, you got a 100-gallon tank of fuel. Well, if you're only using it 8 to 10 times and putting, let's say, 3 hours on each one of them, how many tanks of fuel are you really burning? Are you burning, you're getting a full tank of gas and it lasts in 3 years or so? Like,
yep.
I mean,
Number one problem, and I'm sure you've seen it too, but in New Jersey when they don't get used enough is the absorption of that water into the fuel that causes
oh
so
yeah, if
many
you're using
problems.
ethanol, yeah.
Yep. Can't get away
hmm
from it here in New Jersey. So
You've also got, your winter blended fuels and your summer blended fuels too.
yep.
So, I always get that. That one's something that always trips me up. I can never remember the winter they put kerosene in the gas.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
All of
Yeah.
these
So,
things and all of these things just make it not burn as well. That's what it comes down
yeah.
to.
Yeah. Especially when it's 2 to 3 years old.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and I
but,
loved your video that explained when it evaporates in the carburetor, what's left over there is what the problem is.
mm,
So if you have 2 weeks, it could sit for 2 weeks, you not use it, and then it doesn't run right when you're out. It's definitely that moisture causing that problem.
yeah. And that sucks because you would, now how available is non-ethanol fuel in the New
It's
Jersey area?
it's not. You have to go into Pennsylvania to get it. Can't get it in New
Really?
Jersey. Yeah,
And
so
is that
we're
like a
very
state thing or?
It is. The last I heard, there was one up in North Jersey, and I heard it closed because it was up near Lake Greenwood Lake, which is goes from New Jersey to New York, and it was the last one that was available. So guys aren't going to drive 2 hours to top off
Yeah.
their tanks. What
No.
guys do though is they'll go to a local small airport before the winter
Get
and
av gas.
they'll get some of that, put it in a 5 gallon jug, stick their fuel line in it, and just run the motor for a while so everything
Mm-hmm.
you know gets inside there for the winter. So
That's a pretty common thing around here too, is to put, 5 gallon, get some av, because av gas is like, I want to say it has like a 2 year shelf life or something like, I mean, it's a lot more. And then also, if you're not talking about ethanol blended fuels and we're talking about straight unleaded, to me, I've always found it surprising because all the problems that you have with the fuel is the ethanol. It's the moisture, it's the corrosion, it's all that stuff that goes bad, and then when it evaporates you're left with all these problems. Unleaded gas, like non-ethanol gas or avgas, doesn't have any of that stuff in it.
yep,
So yeah, your gas might evaporate, your octane level might come down a little bit, but it, 2 to 3, 4, 5-year old, unless, straight ethanol free or have gas, it's still burnable. Like, it's not like,
Yeah.
you're going to have this massive problem. It's just,
Right.
you got low octane and,
Yeah.
obviously you don't
Well,
want to be.
it's amazing you say that because when I was a kid back in the early 80s working at a lawnmower shop, when the gas
Mm-hmm.
went bad, it stunk. It didn't have ethanol in it. It would turn into the thick, thick varnish, and someone would roll in their snowblower because that's what sat the longest of their machine over the long summer months before winter comes.
Mm-hmm.
And I would come home, my clothes would just stink of that bad gas. And now we don't have that anymore. It doesn't go bad that way. It evaporates, and the moisture that's left over causes all those problems.
Yeah, I wonder, it must have been in the refining process or maybe something that they did to it. I mean, I don't know why it would change, but I know I've seen I've seen boats in Florida that have, non-ethanol fuel in it, 4 or 5 years old, and light it up and drive
Yeah.
off. Like,
Yep.
it's now you get ethanol in there. That's totally different topic.
Yep.
It does not work like that.
Yeah, man.
You don't do that.
And you can't separate it. Once it's done, it's done. Can't
Uh-huh.
can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
No, you can't. So you said Mako, Grady White, Hyder Sports. What would you say the most popular boat brand up there? What would
If
you
I had to
say?
guess, Chaparral, Crown Line.
Okay.
They're kind of big at the local marinas where you've got some people with some more money who have some, I would say 30 foot, 28 to 30 foot larger boats.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to be those were all twin IOs, the Volvo Pentas and all that stuff. The Topaz is another popular one. Bertram was for many years, as well as Egg Harbor, because of course Egg Harbor is made in Little Egg Harbor, New Jersey. So the Egg Harbor boats were big. But all of that is really when all those boat manufacturers switched and OMC bought a boat manufacturer for a while and Bayliner changed and all that stuff. They all kind of consolidated and we came out. The market was flooded in the 90s with like Imperial and all these kind of starter boats that
Mm.
were really very low quality boats for many years.
Yeah,
You know.
production line. They were just slinging them.
Yep. Yeah, my dad bought a Imperial, and the stringers from the motor all the way up to the front just rotted right out in 3 years.
Wow. I mean, they must have had something that was just, it didn't get glassed properly and the stringers were wood that it just was
Or
able
who
to
knows
eat.
what type of wood they actually really used in that.
Maybe termites.
They'll eat it
Yeah.
up quick, man.
Yeah, chaparral. So, because when I think of a chaparral, I'm thinking inboards. But now, a lot of these brands that used to be known for being a lake boat, bow rider, Regals, chaparrals, a lot of the Sea Rays and stuff. They've got a lot of models now that are all outboards compared to
Yeah,
the inboards.
yeah.
So,
Years ago, my old boss used to have a Chaparral because that was his ski boat, and it was a center engine, straight inboard, and that was his ski boat. He loved it. And over the years, he eventually gave in and got a four-stroke outboard on his final boat that he had when he went into retirement. He swore he never would. He said, "I don't like that noisy thing on the back." And but when you start up that four-stroke, man, it's really it changes you.
real quick, did you know that on average a boat owner will spend between $1,000 and $5,000 a year just on servicing their engine? And you could actually pocket and save a lot of that money if you would just do the service yourself. It might seem like a daunting task, but I guarantee you virtually everyone can do it with our guidance and the Boaters program. This is just one skill that you could learn inside the program because we have hundreds of other videos teaching you all kinds of boating skills, as well as a weekly live stream where we have questions and answers with me, as well as a chat feature where you can send videos and pictures, ask all kinds of questions, or look for some advice or some guidance on a project that you're doing on your boat. You can join the program by hitting the first link in the description, clicking join, or visiting bornagainboating.com. Now back to the video.